It was a late afternoon, the kind where sunlight feels softer, golden, and full of memory. The park was quiet except for the whispering leaves of an old oak tree. And under that oak, a woman named Mara walked slowly, her steps heavy yet searching. In her hands, she carried a small loaf of bread wrapped in a piece of cloth. It was simple, but it was all she had, a symbol of her quiet journey. Mara had come a long way, not from another city, but from a life she no longer recognized. She had everything most people dream of, a job, a home, and the appearance of happiness, yet, inside her heart, there was a deep emptiness. She felt lost in the noise of her own achievements, tired of running toward things that never filled her soul. So, one morning, without really knowing why, she decided to leave the city behind. To step away from her daily routine, her crowded apartment, her restless mind, and search for peace. When she found that quiet park, she sat on a weathered wooden bench beneath the oak tree. The world around her seemed to breathe differently there, slower, calmer. She unwrapped the bread, placed it beside her, and simply sat. No phone, no distractions, just the sound of life itself. For the first time in months, maybe years, she allowed herself to just be. After a few moments, a man approached, carrying a simple wooden tray. On it rested 2 slices of bread and a small clay cup filled with tea. He walked with unhurried steps and sat a little distance away from her. His clothes were plain, his eyes kind, and his presence peaceful. He seemed to belong to that place, as if he were part of the stillness. Mara hesitated, watching him quietly. Finally, she spoke, her voice uncertain yet gentle. "Can I sit here?" she asked softly. The man turned toward her, smiled warmly, and said, "Only if you eat too." The words were simple, but something in the way he said them stopped her. They weren't spoken as a rule or a condition, they were an invitation. An opening, a quiet reminder that she didn't have to be alone. So she nodded, a little shyly, and accepted a slice of bread from his tray. They sat together in silence, eating slowly. No introductions, no explanations. Just 2 souls sharing a moment that needed no words. For Mara, that silence was more powerful than any conversation she'd had in years. In the stillness, she felt something, a warmth spreading through her chest, as if her spirit was waking up after a long sleep. The bread tasted simple, yet sacred. The tea warmed her hands, and for the first time in a long time, she didn't feel empty. After a while, the man spoke. His voice was calm, like wind passing through trees. "You look like someone searching for peace," he said gently. Mara nodded, her eyes lowering. "I am," she admitted. "But I don't even know where to find it anymore." He smiled again, not with pity, but with understanding. "Peace," he said, "isn't found in faraway places. It's not in what you own or achieve. It's in moments like this, when you stop running long enough to listen." Mara looked at him, unsure what to say. His words felt like water, washing away the dust that had gathered on her heart. She wanted to ask him who he was, how he had learned such wisdom, but she couldn't. Something told her it didn't matter. He broke another piece of bread and handed it to her. "You see," he continued, "years ago, I was just like you. I had dreams, plans, endless lists of things I thought would make me happy. But none of them did. Then one day, someone found me sitting right here, lost and broken. They shared their bread with me. I said, I don't deserve this. And they told me, eat anyway. That day, I learned that we don't earn peace, we receive it." Mara listened, and tears filled her eyes. She realized that her whole life, she had been trying to deserve peace, by working harder, being better, doing more. But here was this stranger reminding her that peace was already hers to accept. The sun began to set, painting the sky with gentle shades of orange and rose. The world seemed to slow even more, as if listening to their quiet exchange. Mara looked at the bread in her hands, feeling its warmth. She took a deep breath, feeling something she hadn't felt in years, stillness. Presence. When she finally looked up, the man was watching the horizon. "How do I hold on to this?" she asked, her voice trembling. "How do I keep this peace when I go back?" He smiled softly. "You don't hold on to peace," he said. "You become it. And when life shakes you, as it will, you remember this. Peace lives in you, not around you." His words settled deep into her soul. She didn't fully understand them yet, but she knew they were true. The next morning, Mara returned to her city life. The traffic, the phones, the responsibilities, they were all still there. But something had changed. There was a new quietness inside her. A softness that she couldn't explain. At work, she no longer rushed through every task. At home, she no longer drowned herself in noise. She began to notice small things again. The way sunlight fell on her window, the sound of rain, the laughter of strangers. When old worries returned, she would touch the small piece of cloth she had kept from that day, the one that had wrapped her bread, and she'd remember the words, "Only if you eat too." Those words became her prayer. A reminder that peace isn't something we chase, it's something we share. Weeks passed, and she began to practice kindness, not the kind that seeks reward, but the kind that gives freely. She helped an elderly neighbor carry groceries. She listened to a friend without judgment. She forgave herself for things she once held onto. And slowly, quietly, her life began to bloom again. She realized that faith is not about believing everything will be perfect. It's about trusting that even when things fall apart, there is a light within that never goes out. That's what Arav, the man in the park, had taught her without ever saying it directly. One afternoon, months later, Mara returned to that same park. The oak tree still stood, its branches stretching toward the sky. The bench was still there, worn but steady. She sat down, the same way she had that first day. But this time, she didn't come with questions, she came with peace. As she sat, a young woman approached. Her eyes looked tired, her shoulders heavy. She clutched a small bag and looked unsure of where to go. Mara saw herself in that woman, the same hunger, the same longing. "Can I sit here?" the woman asked softly. Mara smiled, her heart swelling with recognition. "Only if you eat too," she said. She opened her bag and took out 2 small sandwiches and a thermos of tea. They sat together in silence, just as she had done months before. And as they shared that simple meal, Mara felt the circle of kindness complete itself. She realized something profound in that moment, that healing doesn't end with us. It flows through us, from one soul to another. The peace she had once received from a stranger had now become her gift to someone else. As the sun dipped behind the trees, painting the world in gold, Mara whispered a silent prayer of gratitude. She understood that life had never been about the destination, it was always about these sacred pauses. The moments where one heart reaches out to another. The moments when we remember that we're not alone. If you're listening to this now, perhaps you too are carrying questions, or pain, or weariness that feels too heavy. Maybe you're wondering if peace is still possible for you. Let this story remind you, yes, it is. Peace isn't something far away. It lives quietly inside you, waiting for you to stop long enough to feel it. Sometimes, all it takes is a small act, a breath, a meal shared, a kind word. The soul doesn't need grand gestures, it needs truth, compassion, and presence. You see, the invitation, "Only if you eat too," isn't just about food, it's about life. It's an invitation to take part in the present moment. To nourish not just your body but your spirit. To allow yourself to be seen, loved, and whole. So, take this moment, breathe deeply. Let go of the noise around you. Feel the quiet that exists beneath your thoughts. That stillness, that's peace. That's God's whisper reminding you that you are enough, just as you are. And when you find that peace, don't keep it locked inside. Share it, offer it to someone else, through kindness, through patience, through love. Because every time we share peace, it multiplies. It spreads across hearts and generations. Mara's story reminds us that sometimes the most sacred journeys begin with a simple question and an open heart. "Can I sit here?" And a simple reply, "Only if you eat too." So wherever you are, whatever you're going through, may you find your own bench beneath the tree. May you find someone to share your bread and tea with. And may you always remember that peace isn't something you must earn, it's something you already carry within your soul.